In the highlands of Bolivia lies an ancient site known as Puma Punku, where stone blocks are so precisely cut that not even a knife blade can fit between them. These blocks, some weighing up to 800 tons, are made of andesite and granite, materials that are difficult even for modern tools to work with. Remarkably, the surfaces of these stones are perfectly smooth, and the angles are so meticulously cut that they appear to have been made in a factory. Researchers like archaeologist David Brown note a paradox. Despite the monumentality and precision of the construction, there are no written records of its creation. Moreover, many blocks are connected by metallic clamps, raising numerous questions about the technologies used in ancient times. Simply put, how could ancient civilizations process such hard materials remains a mystery. The atmosphere of Puma Punku is enchanting. The thin mountain air and silence among the ancient ruins create unique conditions for contemplation. The rough surrounding landscape contrasts sharply with the incredible precision of the stonework, evoking awe and reverence. Puma Punku rightfully deserves to be considered one of the most mysterious places on Earth, where ancient architecture continues to challenge contemporary notions of construction technologies. And its location at an altitude of over 3,800 meters above sea level adds to its mystique. How did ancient builders manage such large-scale works in such harsh conditions? Each block here is not just a stone, but a testament to the high level of engineering thought that remains an unsolved enigma. In Colombia, among the artifacts of the Quimbaya culture, mysterious golden objects were discovered that cause wonder and debate among scientists. These small figures, made of pure gold, have triangular wings and a vertical stabilizer, giving them a resemblance to modern airplanes. Their shape resembles a fuselage, and many researchers note an astonishing similarity to aerodynamic principles. Experiments with creating scaled models based on these artifacts have shown that they exhibit aerodynamic stability, raising questions about the technologies available to ancient civilizations. Some scientists, such as Dr. Jose A. Carrillo, suggest that these figures may represent ancient flying machines known to the Quimbaya, while others interpret them as stylized depictions of birds or insects, highlighting the richness of their imagination and artistic traditions. The golden sheen of these objects under museum lights creates a captivating effect, emphasizing the elegance of the lines characteristic of ancient jewelry craftsmanship. The contrast between the primitive techniques used in their manufacture and their futuristic appearance underscores the complexity and multi-layered nature of Quimbaya culture. These golden airplanes found in tombs and sanctuaries speak to the high level of craftsmanship of the jewelers of the time, who used techniques such as casting and filigree to create such detailed and expressive forms. The number of artifacts found, including over 100 figures, indicates their significant role in the rituals and beliefs of the Quimbaya. There are even suggestions that these items were used as amulets to protect against evil spirits during journeys, further emphasizing their symbolic significance. Such diverse interpretations open new horizons for understanding not only the Quimbaya culture, but also the entire pre-Columbian Americas. Across the expanses of the Peruvian desert of Nazca lie enigmatic geoglyphs that captivate the imagination with their scale and precision. Images of animals, plants, and geometric figures, some of which are up to 370 meters long, create a unique contrast with the lifeless landscape. These lines, carved into the earth around 2,000 years ago, have been preserved thanks to the region's dry climate, making them some of the oldest surviving artifacts on the planet. Researchers, such as the Peruvian archaeologist Maria Reyes, have noted the remarkable accuracy of the geoglyphs. Their outlines are clear and precise, indicating a high level of knowledge among ancient peoples. The purpose of these massive drawings remains a mystery. Some theories suggest they served as a calendar, helping local residents to orient themselves in the seasons and weather conditions. Other scientists propose that the geoglyphs may have indicated water sources in this arid region, which were vital for survival. There are also opinions that these lines were used as ritual paths leading to sanctuaries where local residents prayed to their gods. Each of these hypotheses opens new horizons for understanding the culture of the Nazca people. Walking through the desert, one feels the heat of the sun and hears the soft rustling of sand underfoot, creating the sensation of being in a place where time has stopped. Against the backdrop of this desolate landscape, the geoglyphs stand out with their refined beauty, making one ponder how ancient cultures could create such complex and precise forms with only primitive tools. The International Nazca Study Association continues to conduct research, actively attracting volunteers and students to study these mysterious figures, which have not yet revealed all their secrets. The geoglyphs of Nazca remain not only objects of scientific interest, but also symbols of human ability to create art in the most unexpected conditions. Ancient civilizations left behind not only architectural masterpieces, but also mysterious artifacts that often make us ponder the possibility of contacts with extraterrestrial civilizations. For instance, in the rock paintings found in the Peruvian desert of Nazca, figures are depicted that remarkably resemble modern astronauts with helmets and spacesuits. These images, dating back approximately 2,000 years, raise many questions about how ancient people perceived technologies that were beyond their reach. In the Vedic texts of India, there are references to vimanas, flying machines capable of moving through the sky and even into space. Some researchers claim that these descriptions resemble modern concepts of spacecraft. Figures similar to astronauts were also found on Mayan reliefs, adding another layer to this complex history. Medieval frescoes in Europe, for example, depict flying saucers, which also raises the question, could people of that time have witnessed something otherworldly? Proponents of the paleo-contact theory point to the sudden appearance of advanced technologies in various civilizations, such as the Egyptian pyramids or the megalithic structures in Britain, and argue that such achievements could have been the result of interaction with more advanced beings. Some of them refer to artifacts like the golden idols of the ancient Incas, which they believe could be depictions of extraterrestrials. However, the scientific community is skeptical of these theories, asserting that many of these evidences can be explained by human creativity and cultural interpretation. Scientific critics emphasize that the lack of solid evidence and the abundance of speculation make such theories unlikely. Imagine how ancient people might have reacted to encountering beings with technologies they couldn't even comprehend. Feelings of awe and fear in the face of the unknown, attempts to explain these phenomena through their myths and beliefs. One of the most striking examples is the Codex Troano, which depicts creatures with large heads and small bodies, further highlighting the ancient fascination with extraterrestrial life forms. These images, found in Mexico and dating back approximately 1,000 years, have baffled researchers with their enigmatic features. Comparing such artifacts from different parts of the world creates an impressive picture where reality and myth intertwine, and the boundary between them becomes increasingly blurred. Vedic texts describe not only technologies but also divine battles where gods used vimanas in their conflicts, which remarkably resemble modern science fiction plots. References to such flying machines can be interpreted as memories of real events, although many scientists insist that they are merely metaphors. It is interesting to note that in various cultures, there are similar stories about sky beings, which may indicate a common human predisposition to seek answers to questions about our place in the universe. The study of these artifacts and texts opens doors to a world where the boundaries between reality and myth are erased, leaving room for conjectures and speculations. In this context, it is worth paying attention to the work of researchers like Erich von Däniken, who in his book, Chariots of the Gods, raises the question of whether ancient civilizations could have interacted with extraterrestrial entities. His approach, despite the criticism it receives, makes us reconsider how we perceive history and what our ancestors might have seen when they looked up at the night sky. In the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, there are mysterious bas-reliefs that attract attention with their unusual content. On these images, one can see elongated objects that strongly resemble modern electric lamps. Inside these lamps is something that can be interpreted as a thread, as well as something that looks like a power source. These details spark heated debates among researchers. Some are convinced that this is evidence of the existence of electricity in ancient Egypt, while others believe that the images symbolize the lotus and the rising sun, important elements of Egyptian mythology. It is worth noting that such contradictory interpretations are not limited to the bas-reliefs in Dendera. In other parts of Egypt, artifacts have been found that suggest possible knowledge of the ancients about chemistry and electricity. For example, gilded artifacts found in pharaohs' tombs testify to advanced metalworking technologies. The preserved colors on the walls of ancient temples also tantalize the minds of scholars. They are remarkably bright, even after thousands of years, hinting at possible secrets of ancient dyes. Inside the Temple of Hathor, an atmosphere of mystery prevails. Dim light filters through small windows, falling on the bas-reliefs and highlighting their details. The walls of the temple seem to whisper about ancient secrets that were once known only to priests. The feeling of touching these ancient knowledge is indescribable. It seems as if you are standing at the threshold of a discovery that could revolutionize our understanding of a civilization that existed more than 3,000 years ago. It is important to remember that such discoveries can change not only our understanding of history, but also the very essence of human civilization. In Dendera, in the shadow of ancient walls, such reflections become particularly acute and relevant. Imagine a world where, on the marshy banks of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, a highly developed civilization with a unique culture suddenly emerges, seemingly without any visible predecessors. Around 4,000 years before our era, the people who called themselves Sumerians began to build city-states such as Uruk, and Lagash. These cities were not just centers of trade, but also places where complex irrigation systems were developed to support agriculture in this arid region. Known as blackheads for their distinctive features, the Sumerians believed that their knowledge and achievements were given to them by mythical beings called the Anunnaki, who, according to their beliefs, descended from the heavens and brought civilization. In their culture, cuneiform, one of the earliest known writing systems, was used to record economic transactions, religious texts, and even literary works, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Sumerians' astronomical observations were so precise that they documented the movements of planets, including those that were invisible to the naked eye, such as Neptune and Uranus, long before their discovery in modern times. The sound of a stylus scratching on clay tablets echoed like the rustling of reeds swaying in the wind in those ancient marshes, as if the gods themselves were whispering their secrets. The Sumerians developed a calendar based on lunar cycles, which allowed them to more accurately plan agricultural work and religious festivals. They were aware of the zodiac and recorded the movements of stars, creating a unique system of astrology that influenced other cultures for centuries. In their temples, such as the ziggurat in the Sumerians worshipped their gods, offering prayers and sacrifices, believing in their protection and blessings. These achievements laid the foundation for subsequent civilizations such as the Akkadians and Babylonians, who adopted and developed Sumerian traditions. But the Sumerians themselves remain a mystery. The question of where they came from and how they achieved such success in such a short period continues to spark debate among historians and archaeologists. There are theories about the migration of peoples, but concrete evidence remains scattered. The Sumerian civilization left behind not only material artifacts, but also a legacy that continues to influence the modern world, from writing to religious beliefs. Few people know that the ancient Romans developed concrete, which became the foundation of their magnificent architecture and continues to amaze with its strength and longevity. This concrete, known as opus cementitium, included volcanic ash, which gave it unique properties. Volcanic ash from the region of Pompeii not only strengthened the mixture, but also allowed it to harden underwater, which was critically important for the construction of ports and aqueducts. Roman aqueducts, such as the Aqueduct of Appius, stretched for hundreds of kilometers and supplied cities with fresh drinking water. The construction of such structures required exceptional engineering prowess. The incline of the aqueducts was meticulously calculated to ensure water could flow without the need for pumps, relying solely on gravity. The sound of water flowing through the vaults of these ancient constructions, like echoes of past eras, filled Roman cities with life and freshness. Baths like the Baths of Caracalla amazed contemporaries not only with their size, but also with their engineering solutions. Thermal complexes included heating systems where hot air passed under the floors, creating a comfortable coolness, even on hot summer days. Upon entering, one immediately felt a sharp change in temperature. The coolness of marble walls and floors, polished over centuries, was a pleasant contrast to the scorching Roman sun. The floors of the baths were laid with mosaics and the walls were adorned with exquisite frescoes that continue to attract the attention of researchers and tourists. Roman roads, such as the Via Appia, were built using a multi-layered technology, including large stones based on concrete, which allowed them to withstand the weight of heavy wagons and armies for centuries. These roads connected different corners of the empire and served as important arteries for trade and travel. Legions and merchants bringing goods from distant lands traveled along them. Each road was meticulously planned. Its width, incline, and even drainage systems were calculated with mathematical precision. The use of various Roman construction technologies, such as arches and vaults, allowed for the creation of vast spaces used for public events and religious ceremonies. For example, the Colosseum, built in the 1st century AD, could accommodate up to 50,000 spectators and was a true marvel of engineering of its time. Its arches and vaults not only ensured the stability of the structure, but also created unique acoustics, allowing even soft sounds to be heard from afar. Roman builders used methods that were ahead of their time. They combined concrete with bricks and stone, creating strong structures that have endured for centuries. The use of bricks fired in special kilns allowed for the creation of walls that were not only strong, but also beautiful. These construction techniques were passed down from generation to generation, and each new building became more grand and complex. These achievements were not accidental. They emerged against the backdrop of a stable political system that supported the development of science and technology. Roman engineers and architects, such as Vitruvius, documented their knowledge in treatises that are still studied today. Vitruvius, who lived in the 1st century BC, in his book De Architectura, described principles that architects should follow, including the idea of proportions and symmetry based on nature. Roman innovations in concrete and architecture became the basis for future construction practices and continue to challenge modern technologies. It is estimated that around 80% of Roman buildings constructed from this unique concrete are still standing, demonstrating the skill of ancient builders. The number of surviving Roman structures, such as the Pantheon, built in the early 2nd century, continues to inspire architects around the world. The height of its dome reaches 40 meters, making it the largest concrete dome in the world. In ancient times, the Library of Alexandria was not merely a repository of books, but a true symbol of knowledge and wisdom. Founded in the 3rd century BC during the Ptolemaic dynasty, it became the center of scientific thought and culture, amassing up to 700,000 scrolls, including works by great philosophers, mathematicians, and astronomers. The library was actively replenished through a unique information gathering system. Copies of all texts on every ship arriving at the port were taken. This meant that each new scroll became part of this great collection, preserving the wealth of knowledge from the ancient world. Within the library's walls, an atmosphere reigned that is hard to describe in words. The rustle of papyrus scrolls, the scent of parchment, and the soft light of oil lamps illuminating ancient texts created a truly magical feeling. However, despite its grandeur, the Library of Alexandria did not escape a tragic fate. Various versions of its destruction are debated among historians. One of the most famous accounts claims that during the siege of Alexandria by Julius Caesar in 81 BC, part of the library was burned when he ordered the enemy ships in the harbor to be set ablaze. Other sources assert that the library was destroyed by the order of the Caliph Omar in the 7th century. There is also a belief that the library gradually declined due to political and economic changes in the region. As a result of these catastrophic events, an immense wealth of knowledge was lost to humanity. It is difficult to imagine how many unique scrolls and texts will never be read again. The once magnificent and vibrant Library of Alexandria now exists only in memory and legend, leaving behind a faint trail of mystery and loss. In the mountains of China, in isolated caves, mysterious granite discs with a diameter of about 30 centimeters, a central hole, and spiral grooves reminiscent of micro-engraving were discovered. These artifacts, known as the dropping stone discs, were found in 1938 by archaeologist Chi-Pu Tei. His discovery caused a sensation, sparking numerous debates and discussions among scientists. The discs bear complex patterns that some researchers interpret as ancient inscriptions recounting the crash of a spacecraft. However, many scientists are convinced that this story is a hoax with no factual basis. The remoteness of the area where the discs were found adds to the mystery of this discovery. The high mountains and inaccessible caves create an atmosphere of secrecy, and it seems that touching these artifacts is like touching something potentially extraterrestrial. The spiral patterns carved on the surface of the discs evoke associations with ancient knowledge or even with unknown civilizations that may have existed before us. These artifacts raise many questions among researchers. What do they mean? What is their true nature? For many years, various groups have tried to decipher the inscriptions, but without success. Some experts suggest that the discs could have been part of a ritual or even served as a navigation tool. For example, some researchers propose that the spiral patterns could indicate star systems or be used to predict astronomical events. However, the lack of definitive evidence and conflicting interpretations add to the complexity of understanding these artifacts. While some scientists insist on their authenticity, others believe that the discs are simply a forgery created to attract attention to mysterious findings. Nevertheless, the fascination with the dropping stone discs continues, inspiring both researchers and enthusiasts of mysteries. Interest in them is also fueled by cultural myths about ancient civilizations that may have possessed knowledge inaccessible to modern humans. In this context, the discs become not only objects of study but also elements of cultural heritage, into which questions about our place in the world and what we know about the past are woven. These artifacts undoubtedly continue to spark debates and intrigue opinions, and their true nature remains a subject of discussion and investigation. Some researchers even propose that the discs could be linked to ancient humans' contacts with extraterrestrial civilizations, adding another layer of mystery to their history. The study of the dropping stone discs opens up vast horizons for further research and leads to a new understanding of ancient artifacts. Interestingly, in recent years, some researchers have begun using modern technologies such as 3D scanning, to study the patterns on the discs in more detail, which could lead to new discoveries. With each new finding, the history of the dropping stone discs becomes even more complex and multifaceted. Archaeology, as a science, always lives in tension between facts and interpretations, and the dropping stone discs serve as a vivid example of this dynamic. The Rosetta Stone is not just an artifact, but a key to unlocking the mysteries of an ancient civilization, shedding light on the secrets of Egyptian hieroglyphs. This black basalt block, discovered in 1799 by French troops on the Nile, measures approximately 1 meter in height, 72 centimeters in width, and 30 centimeters in thickness. Its surface is inscribed with 3 texts, the top one in ancient Greek, the middle one in Demotic, and the bottom one in hieroglyphic. This unique combination of languages made the stone an invaluable tool for studying Egyptian writing. Jean-François Champollion, a French linguist and archaeologist, succeeded in deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphs in 1822 by using the Rosetta Stone as a comparison. He observed that some symbols recurred in both the Greek and hieroglyphic texts, enabling him to match sounds and meanings. The decipherment of the stone opened doors to understanding ancient Egyptian culture, its religion, mythology, and history. Champollion demonstrated that hieroglyphs are not merely symbols, but a complex system of writing where each sign could represent both a sound and an idea. His work allowed scholars to read texts that had remained undeciphered for centuries, including the tombs of pharaohs and sacred texts, offering a glimpse into the life and beliefs of ancient Egypt. The surface of the stone is rough, and the contrast between the dark basalt and the carved symbols creates a sense of touching history. Each symbol is not just a letter, but a part of a vast mosaic that was assembled thanks to the perseverance and genius of Champollion. His discoveries formed the basis for further research, leading to numerous new findings and a deeper understanding of ancient Egypt. Today, the Rosetta Stone is housed in the British Museum, continuing to attract the attention of researchers and tourists. For centuries, secret societies have existed on Earth, safeguarding knowledge and skills that were not accessible to the general public. One of the most well-known is the cult of Mithras, which emerged in the 3rd century BC in Persian culture and spread throughout the Roman Empire. Mithraism involved complex initiation rituals that consisted of various stages. Initiation into the cult included a rite where followers had to pass through a cave, a symbol of the underworld, where they faced trials. These rituals often took place in mysterious underground temples lit by torches, creating an atmosphere of sacrality and mystery. Cult members took oaths of silence, committing to keep the secrets of the teachings, which heightened their sense of belonging to something great and inaccessible to most. There was also the Pythagorean Union, founded by Pythagoras in the 6th century BC. Pythagoreans studied not only mathematics but also philosophy, music, and astronomy, believing that the world could be understood through numbers and harmony. Their teachings included a multi-level system of initiation, where each new level granted access to deeper knowledge. Important elements of their practice were secret gatherings where philosophical ideas were discussed, and rituals related to the purification of the soul were performed. The Eleusinian mysteries, held in Eleusis, were dedicated to the goddess Demeter and her daughter Persephone. These rituals took place once a year and included processions and complex ceremonies that symbolized the cycle of life and death, as well as rebirth. Initiates who passed through the mysteries gained access to secret knowledge about life after death and the mysteries of the universe. In ancient societies, symbolic gestures and passwords were passed down from generation to generation, creating a strong link between the knowledge of ancestors and the present. This thread of tradition stretches through the centuries, connecting ancient civilizations with modern quests, constantly reminding us that knowledge is power, and only the worthy can grasp it. These secret societies not only preserved knowledge but also shaped the culture, philosophy, and science of their times, leaving a profound mark on human history. For example, the Eleusinian Mysteries attracted thousands of participants, including philosophers like Plato, who believed that true knowledge lies beyond ordinary perception. As a result, many of these teachings became the foundation for subsequent religious and philosophical systems, such as Neoplatonism and Christianity. In the ancient Indian epic Mahabharata, something is mentioned that could be considered a precursor to modern technologies. In one of the fragments, a shining weapon is described, which, according to the poet, emitted light brighter than 1,000 suns. The consequences of its use were horrendous. Food became poisoned, and those who survived lost their hair and nails as if they had been burned by an invisible flame. These lines evoke a sense of awe, prompting us to consider that in ancient times, knowledge and technologies may have existed that are beyond our understanding. Parallels with nuclear weapons and their destructive consequences are not mere speculative thoughts, but concrete descriptions that appeal to our imagination. Vedic texts also mention vimanas, flying machines that, according to legends, could move through the air and even into space. These machines, described as capable of amazing maneuvers, evoke associations with modern drones, but on the level of myths and legends. There is even a mention of mirrors used in ancient China for transmitting images over long distances. In these texts, one can see an archaic language that contrasts with the descriptions of technologies that sound so modern that they create a sense of temporal dissonance. The texts are filled with details that seem to transcend human experience. Mirrors could reflect light waves, creating images visible over long distances. Reading these passages not only arouses curiosity but also makes us ponder whether ancient civilizations possessed knowledge that does not fit into the framework of our usual understanding of history. Comparing these ancient texts with modern technological achievements becomes not just interesting, but sometimes even frightening when we realize that these ancient texts may not be just myths but records of real events and discoveries. In this context, Mahabharata and other Vedic texts become not just literary works but genuine historical artifacts that require careful analysis and interpretation. One such example is the mention of the shining weapon in Mahabharata, where the catastrophic consequences of its use can remind us of nuclear explosions from the 20th century. These texts contain deep knowledge that could provide us with insights into how and why civilizations developed. Comparing these ancient texts with modern technologies raises many questions. What knowledge was lost and what could have changed the course of history if it had been passed on to subsequent generations? The texts of Vedic literature are filled with mentions of incredible devices and technologies that may have once existed. The attitude towards these fragments can vary from skepticism to admiration, but they undoubtedly open a window into a world where technology and magic could coexist, creating unique conditions for the development of human civilization. It is important to note that such descriptions not only expand our understanding of the past, but also can inspire further research and discoveries in the fields of archaeology and the history of technology. Knowledge of the sphericity of the Earth dates back to ancient times and, surprisingly, was widely accepted among educated people in antiquity. As early as the 6th century BC, the Pythagorean philosophers, such as Pythagoras, proposed that the Earth is spherical, basing their conclusions on observations of stars and the movements of celestial bodies. This concept of a round world was adopted by Aristotle in the 4th century BC, who provided several proofs in support of his theory. He noted that the shadow of the Earth on the Moon during lunar eclipses always has a circular shape, which is impossible if the Earth were flat. Aristotle also pointed out that when traveling south, new stars become visible, indicating that the observer is moving across the surface of a sphere. The 2nd century BC marked a significant milestone in the history of geography with Eratosthenes, who, as the head of the library in Alexandria, was the first to accurately measure the circumference of the Earth. He used the differences in the angles of sunlight in two cities, Syene and Alexandria, to calculate the distance between them, and, using these data, estimated the circumference of the planet at 26,000 miles, which is remarkably close to modern measurements. In most ancient civilizations, such as ancient Rome and Greece, educated people were aware of the spherical shape of the Earth. They observed ships gradually disappearing over the horizon and understood that this was due to the curvature of the planet. Ancient navigators used stars for orientation, and their knowledge of the celestial sphere was quite advanced. For example, the North Star always remained in the same place, while the stars around it rotated, further confirming the idea of a spherical Earth. These observations and calculations were so precise that they allowed ancient sailors to safely cross oceans, relying on the knowledge that the Earth is not flat, but spherical. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats towered like gigantic staircases leading to the heavens. These monumental structures reached heights of up to 90 meters and were built from fired clay bricks, faced with glazed tiles, giving them an elegant appearance and allowing them to endure for millennia. Ziggurats typically had a stepped form, with each platform slightly smaller than the one below, creating an effect of ascending to the divine. Archaeologists believe these structures served multiple purposes, as temples dedicated to gods, as astronomical observatories where priests could observe stars and predict seasons, and as shelters during floods, providing a safe haven for local inhabitants. Additionally, they symbolized the cosmic mountain, the center of the universe where Earth and heaven met. Imagine standing on the upper platform of a ziggurat, gazing at a panoramic view of the city, where at sunset, long shadows are cast onto the streets, filling them with golden light. Climbing the monumental stairs, one feels the approach to the heavens, and each step seems to bring one closer to the divine. Among the most famous ziggurats, such as the Ziggurat of Ur, were built around 2,500 years before our era and served as centers of religious life. The walls of these buildings were adorned with vibrant paintings and reliefs depicting scenes from mythology and everyday life. Infused with spirituality, these structures were not only architectural marvels, but also symbols of faith and hope of the ancient Mesopotamians. Each year, archaeological excavations uncover new details, confirming that ziggurats played a pivotal role in the social and cultural life of their peoples. For instance, in the year 2399 BCE in Nineveh, a ziggurat was discovered that was likely used for astronomical observations, as evidenced by astronomical tablets found nearby. In the heart of Mexico lies Teotihuacan, a magnificent city built between the 1st and 8th centuries of our era. This complex, spanning approximately 20 square kilometers, was one of the largest cities of its time and remains a mystery to scholars today. The pyramids of the sun and the moon, which tower over the land, are awe-inspiring in their scale and construction. The Pyramid of the Sun, with a height of around 60 meters, is one of the largest in the world, and its base covers approximately 80,000 square meters. The Pyramid of the Moon, though smaller, is equally impressive, standing at around 40 meters tall. These monumental structures are aligned along the Avenue of the Dead, the main axis of the city, measuring about 2 kilometers in length, which connects key elements of the urban space. Walking along this avenue, one can feel the echo of footsteps from the ancient walls, creating an atmosphere of mystery and grandeur. The wind that blows between the pyramids whispers stories hidden in the stones and plays with the shadows cast on the steps. The city's geometric layout is astonishingly precise. Streets intersect at right angles, and buildings are aligned with astronomical phenomena. Researchers note that Teotihuacan was not founded by the Aztecs, as many believe. Its creators remain unknown, adding to the city's aura of mystery. The reasons for its abandonment, which likely occurred in the 7th century of our era, remain unclear. Some scientists suggest that this could have been due to ecological factors such as resource depletion or climate change, but definitive evidence is lacking. In its heyday, the city was a cultural and economic hub where artisans, traders, and priests produced unique items like ceramics and textiles. Artifacts found on the grounds of Teotihuacan attest to a high level of craftsmanship and a well-developed trade system that extended far beyond the city. For example, obsidian and gold jewelry found in the city indicate complex commercial ties with other regions of Mesoamerica. The sophisticated water supply system with underground channels and aqueducts demonstrates the advanced technology of the time. This system, which drew water from nearby mountains, provided the city with essential resources and supported its population, estimated to have been over 100,000 at the height of Teotihuacan. Every element of the city, from the pyramids to the residential quarters, was part of a unified whole, and continues to be a subject of study for archaeologists from around the world. Current research is ongoing, and scientists hope that further excavations will shed light on the life and culture of the inhabitants of Teotihuacan. Remarkably, ancient physicians possessed knowledge and skills that are hard for modern people to even imagine. Trepanation of the skull, performed as early as the Neolithic period, was one of the most daring and complex medical practices. Research shows that at that time, people used simple tools such as sharp stones or bronze drills to bore holes in the skull. This procedure was often used to treat various ailments, including headaches, epilepsy, and even to exorcise evil spirits. Remarkably, archaeologists have found skulls with clear signs of healing, indicating a high survival rate among patients. For example, in the 5th century BC in Latin America, archaeologists discovered skulls with clear signs of trepanation and evidence of healing, demonstrating that ancient surgeons could successfully perform such operations. Additionally, in Pompeii, surgical instruments were found that indicate a high level of skill. Knives, clamps, and even tweezers made of bronze allowed surgeons to perform operations with remarkable precision. Egyptian medical papyri, such as the Ebers papyrus, dating back to around 1500 BC, contain numerous recipes and treatment methods, including the use of herbs for anesthesia. The scents from these herbs were not only soothing but also sometimes exotic, creating an atmosphere of hope for patients on the operating table. Ayurvedic practices in India, which have existed for over 3,000 years, also offer numerous treatment methods, including surgical procedures, and emphasize the importance of balance between the body and the spirit. Unique sounds produced by primitive tools working on bone created an atmosphere filled with fear and hope. Patients undergoing such operations experienced intense pain, but their faith in healing and the experience of the surgeons often brought the desired results. One fact stands out. In the 30th century BC, Egyptian surgeons used methods that included both physical intervention and healing rituals, underscoring their understanding of human nature and the desire for healing. Ancient peoples have always sought ways to understand the world around them, and this pursuit led to the creation of remarkable astronomical observatories, such as the Göbekli Circle. This Neolithic structure, located in Germany and dating back approximately 4,900 years before our era, consists of concentric circles formed by earthen banks, wooden posts, and palisades. Each entrance in this structure was precisely aligned with the sunrise and sunset on key days of the year, such as the solstices and equinoxes. Archaeological research has shown that the Göbekli Circle was used for observing celestial phenomena, allowing its builders to synchronize their agricultural cycles with the sun's movement. In that pre-dawn hour when the first light pierces through the clouds, there is a sense of anticipation as the sun gradually rises between the ancient banks. This silence is broken only by the soft rustling of the grass, and the viewers gathered at the observatory feel a deep connection to the cosmic cycles. Similar structures, such as Stonehenge in England, where massive stones are also aligned with the solstices, and Newgrange in Ireland, known for its entrance that is illuminated by sunlight on the winter solstice, demonstrate the importance of tracking the heavens for ancient people. The Mayan observatories, such as the one in Tikal, also served for astronomical observations, enabling priests to accurately predict solar and lunar cycles. This passion for astronomy and understanding time reflects deeper cultural and religious aspects of ancient societies, where each celestial phenomenon was seen as a sign or message from the gods. The sun disk slowly emerging from the horizon creates not only a physical, but also a spiritual connection to the world, and it is in such moments that ancient observers could feel that they are not just looking at the sky, but becoming part of its vast cycles. The Gosek Circle and similar structures are not just architectural monuments, but true repositories of knowledge that allowed ancient peoples to orient themselves in time and space. The enigmatic Sphinx, standing on the plateau of Giza, captivates not only by its grandeur, but also by the questions it raises about its true history. Some researchers, such as geologist Robert Schoch, claim that the erosion marks on its body suggest a much older age than officially accepted. In his opinion, the characteristic deep erosion marks could have been caused not by sandstorms, as is usually believed, but by prolonged periods of rain that could have occurred in the region more than 10,000 years ago. This theory is based on the analysis of the rock from which the Sphinx was carved and shows that it could have existed in conditions where the climate was significantly wetter than it is now. If we follow this logic, we can assume that the Sphinx was created during a period when the Earth experienced climatic changes not typical of the present times. The astronomical alignment of the Sphinx with the constellation Leo also raises questions about its age. According to astronomical calculations, the Sphinx was aligned with the constellation Leo around 10,500 years before our era, which challenges traditional views of its construction. In that era, when the Sphinx looked at Leo, human civilization was just beginning to form, and such ambitious architectural projects as this one would have been impossible without a developed culture and technologies. The sun, breaking through the clouds, plays on the weathered stone, creating an effect of light and shadow on its mysterious face. This silent majesty, impervious to time, evokes in the imagination of viewers a sense of deep antiquity that cannot be ignored. Around the Sphinx there is an atmosphere of mystery, and many elements of its construction seem not just works of art, but riddles that challenge traditional historical narratives. Research conducted in recent decades shows that many aspects of its construction remain unsolved, and each new look at this monument opens new horizons for research. There are many theories about how and by whom the Sphinx was built, but none of them can fully explain its true purpose and time of creation. Scientific disputes about the Sphinx continue to this day, attracting the attention of both scientists and history enthusiasts who strive to unravel the mysteries of antiquity. The Sphinx, as a silent witness to millennia, continues to stand on guard, observing the changes taking place around it. Nefertiti, one of the most enigmatic figures in ancient Egyptian history, left behind numerous questions but no clear answers. Her beauty and influence on the religious life of Egypt were undeniable. Nefertiti, wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, actively participated in his religious reform, aimed at worshipping the sun in the form of the god Aten, becoming a symbol of a new era. Images of Nefertiti created in the famous bust found in Amarna testify to her extraordinary beauty and grandeur. This bust, created by sculptor Tutmosis, became one of the most famous artifacts of antiquity, embodying not only her physical beauty but also her power, as she seemed to rule not only the household but also the state alongside Akhenaten. However, after the 12th year of Akhenaten's reign, mentions of Nefertiti suddenly disappear. This sudden disappearance has become the subject of numerous speculations and theories. Some historians suggest that she may have died from an epidemic that devastated Egypt at the time. Others propose that she was exiled, possibly due to a conflict with other members of the royal family or priests who opposed the changes introduced by Akhenaten. There is also a hypothesis that Nefertiti may have changed her name and ruled as a co-regent or even as a sole ruler under the name Smenkhkare. This theory is supported by the fact that Smenkhkare, who ruled after Akhenaten, could have been Nefertiti, who took a male name to assert her power in a patriarchal society. The search for her tomb has become a real treasure hunt, and in the 20th century, archaeologists discovered a mysterious mummy known as the Younger Lady, who is believed to be Nefertiti. However, despite numerous studies and analyses, her true identity remains unclear. Research using computer tomography shows that the mummy has features consistent with a woman who could have given birth to several children, indicating her high social status. The question of what happened to this remarkable woman continues to captivate scholars and history enthusiasts, filling the pages of books and documentary films with new hypotheses and speculations. Nefertiti remains a symbol of mystery and power, reminding us that even the brightest stars can fade from the historical sky. It's hard to imagine, but the construction of the Egyptian pyramids remains one of the greatest mysteries in the history of architecture. The pyramids of Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure are not just monumental structures, but also a testament to engineering prowess that even the most experienced modern specialists find baffling. Each of the stone blocks, weighing up to 80 tons, was given remarkable precision. The gaps between them are less than 1 millimeter. This means that despite the primitive tools, the ancient Egyptians were able to process stone with such care that the joints remained almost invisible. The pyramids are perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions, indicating deep knowledge of astronomy and geometry possessed by the ancient builders. There are numerous theories about how they moved these giant blocks. One of the most well-known suggests the use of ramps, along which the blocks were raised to the required height. Other researchers believe that systems of levers were used, allowing heavy stones to be easily lifted. Some even propose that the blocks were moved along waterways, using channels filled with water to reduce friction. The construction of the pyramids went on under the scorching sun of the desert, where the sounds of stone grinding and the cries of thousands of workers merged into a single noise, creating an unforgettable atmosphere. The scent of fresh limestone mixed with the sweat of the workers and the shadows cast by the pyramid at sunset seemed to remind of the greatness and power of the pharaohs. Around the site, there was a tense but focused atmosphere, where each worker understood that their efforts were contributing to the eternal memory of Egypt's greatness. Each pyramid required decades of labor, and their construction was a true test of human strength and will. According to historians, the construction of the Pyramid of Khufu alone required around 2 million stone blocks. Ancient peoples possessed remarkable astronomical knowledge that even today's scientists find astonishing. For instance, the Maya were able to calculate the length of the solar year with an accuracy of up to 20 seconds. They developed complex calendars such as the Tzolk'in and Hab, which accounted for both solar and lunar cycles. Given that there are 12 lunar cycles in a year, they synchronized their observations with seasons, allowing them to predict planting and harvesting times. The Babylonians, in turn, predicted lunar eclipses based on observations of the sky. Babylonian astronomers recorded data on celestial phenomena on clay tablets, which aided not only in astronomy but also in politics, as eclipses were seen as omen. The builders of Newgrange in Ireland created a megalithic structure that was illuminated by sunlight through a narrow window on the day of the winter solstice, emphasizing their connection to the sun and its cycles. This structure was used as an observatory where people gathered to witness the light entering at specific times of the year, creating an atmosphere of awe and unity with nature. The Antikythera mechanism found on a ship of the same name is an ancient calculating device used to predict the movements of celestial bodies. This device, dating back to the 1st century BC, could predict solar and lunar eclipses as well as planetary movements, which was an extraordinary achievement for its time. The night sky, as seen by ancient observers, inspired them to create myths and legends, while the silence of temple observatories allowed them to focus on observations, instilling a sense of awe at the grandeur of the cosmos. It is important to note that astronomical knowledge was not just a scientific achievement, but also an integral part of the culture and religion of these peoples, shaping their understanding of the world and their place in it. Astronomical phenomena such as eclipses and seasonal changes were seen as omens that could influence the fates of entire civilizations. In the tropical forests of Costa Rica, scattered are hundreds of mysterious stone spheres that captivate with their perfection. These spheres vary in size from several centimeters to 2.5 meters in diameter and can weigh up to 16 tons. Most of them are made of granodiorite, which gives them a characteristic grey color and strength. The remarkable precision of their shape raises many questions. How could ancient masters achieve such ideal sphericity in conditions where modern technologies do not always succeed in replicating this result? Scientific research shows that the spheres are arranged in strict geometric patterns, indicating a high level of knowledge among the ancient inhabitants of the region in mathematics and astronomy. There are many theories about their purpose. Some researchers suggest that these spheres could have served as astronomical markers, helping to track the movement of celestial bodies. Others believe they were symbols of status, demonstrating the power and influence of local rulers. There are also hypotheses that the stone spheres could have been used as navigational aids for tribes traveling through dense jungles. The humid air of the tropical forest, filled with the sounds of wild nature, creates a contrast between the ideal forms of these stone objects and the chaotic vegetation around them. Each sphere, lying among vines and ancient trees, seems to whisper about the mysteries that have never been solved. Some spheres were found on territories that in ancient times could have served as centers of communal life, adding to their aura of mystery. Local residents, educated by centuries of tradition, still pass down legends about them, adding more intrigue to this ancient enigma. Research conducted by archaeologists such as Dr. Richard Carey indicates that the stone spheres may be part of a broader cultural system connected to rituals and beliefs of ancient tribes. Each time we pay attention to these stone constructions, we encounter questions about the knowledge and skills of their creators and how they interacted with the surrounding nature. No other place on Earth can boast such a concentration of these unique objects, which continue to inspire awe and scientific interest among scholars and tourists from around the world. In Costa Rica, every encounter with these ancient spheres becomes not just a journey into the past, but a true immersion into a world of mysteries that may never be fully unraveled. On the slopes of the arid Atacama Hills, one of the driest places on Earth, stands a colossal geoglyph known as the Giant of Atacama. This anthropomorphic drawing, with a height of approximately 119 meters, is an extraordinary creation of ancient people who likely made it between the 3rd and 1st millennia BCE. The geoglyph is executed in a technique reminiscent of earth cutting. Dark lines of the figure stand out clearly against the light sand, creating a striking contrast that makes it visible from afar. In the process of creating the geoglyph, artists removed the top layer of soil, exposing darker ground, which gave the figure clarity and expressiveness. There are various theories about the purpose of this enigmatic symbol. One of the most prevalent is the hypothesis that the giant of Atacama served as an astronomical marker, helping ancient people orient themselves by the stars and track the changes of the seasons. Another theory suggests that this image is connected to a fertility cult, possibly serving as a sign to a deity to which the local residents prayed. Some researchers even propose that the giant could indicate the location of water sources, which would be particularly important for survival in such an arid region as the Atacama. The giant of Atacama appears as if left for observers from above, creating a sense of an ancient message encrypted in the sands of time. The hot desert air, where bright hues of blue and yellow merge in the vast sky, enhances the impression of this monumental work of art. The desolate landscape around it creates an atmosphere of mystery, and anyone who finds themselves near this geoglyph feels part of something greater than just human existence. The giant Atacama, with its clear lines and scale, invites contemplation about the thoughts and goals of those who created it. Moreover, it attracts the attention of archaeologists and researchers who continue to study its meaning and the context in which it was created. The giant has become a subject of research not only for scientists but also for tourists, eager to touch the ancient history preserved on these barren lands. With each new discovery around the giant of Atacama, scientists get closer to understanding how ancient cultures adapted to the harsh conditions of the desert and how they left their marks on this land. Imagine a civilization that flourished for centuries on the sun-drenched island of Crete, leaving behind magnificent palaces adorned with vibrant frescoes and complex water supply and sewage systems. The Minoan civilization, which existed around 2,000 years before our era, was considered one of the most advanced of its time. Their capital was Knossos, where a vast palace complex was built in the early 2nd millennium BCE. This palace boasted luxurious halls and intricate architectural features such as multi-level terraces and ventilation systems. The Minoans were active in maritime trade, their ships traversing the waters of the Aegean Sea, connecting Crete with other civilizations, including Egypt and Mesopotamia. They left behind numerous artifacts from pottery to golden jewelry, testifying to their high level of artistry and craftsmanship. However, in the early 2nd millennium BCE, a catastrophe struck this thriving culture. Around 1600 BCE, a volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini caused a devastating tsunami. Scientists estimate that waves up to 30 meters high crashed onto the shores of Crete, destroying coastal cities and the Minoan maritime fleet, which was the backbone of their trade. Ash and smoke rising into the atmosphere blocked out the sun and caused abrupt climate changes, making agriculture nearly impossible. Researchers believe that this eruption was the catalyst for the decline of the Minoan civilization. However, among historians, there are alternative theories. Some scholars suggest that the invasion of the Mycenaeans, who could have taken advantage of the Minoans' weakened state, led to the takeover of Cretan territories. Others propose that internal social conflicts, triggered by economic crises and resource shortages, could have weakened society and paved the way for its collapse. The roar of the erupting volcano, the waves crashing onto the shore, and the panic among the inhabitants of once prosperous cities, all these became symbols of the end of an era that left a deep mark on history. Archaeological excavations on Crete continue to uncover evidence of this catastrophe, including layers of ash and debris that confirm the extent of the damage. For example, at the Knossos site, remains of buildings damaged by waves and artifacts indicating a sharp decline in production and trade have been found. As a result of this tragic event, which occurred around 3,600 years ago, the Minoan civilization, once shining in vibrant colors, disappeared, leaving behind only mysteries and questions about how such a thing could have happened. In the valley of the Indus River, where cities once flourished comparable to today's megacities, a civilization thrived, leaving behind enigmatic ruins of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. These cities were true masterpieces of engineering. Streets were laid out in a precise grid, and houses were built from fired bricks, making them more resistant to adverse conditions. The sewage system they developed could rival many modern cities. Wastewater was channeled into special gutters, and each house had its own toilet, which was a remarkable achievement at the time. They used standardized weights and measures for trade, indicating a high level of economic relations. However, the disappearance of this civilization gave rise to many mysteries. Various theories exist about the causes of its decline: changes in river courses that flooded fields and disrupted agriculture, climate changes leading to droughts, invasions by Aryan tribes that could have disrupted peaceful ways of life, and epidemics that depleted the population. Mohenjo-Daro, with its impressive citadel, likely played a significant role in the city's life. This structure towered over surrounding buildings and could serve as both a center of power and a strategic refuge. Additionally, the Great Bath of this city, surrounded by walls and equipped with a complex water supply system, was probably used for ritual baths, highlighting the importance of water in the culture of this civilization. Imagine the bustling streets filled with merchants shouting about their goods, and the air filled with the scents of spices and fresh fruits. However, over time, these streets became desolate, markets emptied, and workshops fell silent, waiting for a rebirth that never came. Research shows that by 2350 BCE, Mohenjo-Daro was already abandoned, and Harappa followed suit, leaving only shadows of its former glory. In the jungles of Central America, secrets are hidden beneath the canopy, where once the voices of the Maya echoed, now lost in silence. Between the 8th and 9th centuries of our era, the Maya civilization, known for its magnificent cities, mysteriously abandoned its sprawling settlements. During this time, hundreds of thousands of people left their homes, leaving behind only crumbling temples and abandoned plazas, where now only the rustling of leaves breaks the silence. The most common theories about the causes of this disappearance include a combination of factors: prolonged droughts, depletion of natural resources, epidemics, internal conflicts, and wars with neighboring tribes. Paleoclimatologists studying sedimentary rocks assert that at this time, climate changes led to a sharp decrease in rainfall, resulting in the collapse of agriculture. Research shows that in some regions, rainfall levels dropped by more than 30%, making it impossible for such agrarian societies to continue. This also coincided with a population increase estimated to have reached up to 7 million people, creating an immense strain on natural resources. In response to the deterioration of living conditions, social unrest began within societies, escalating to open conflicts as the elite lost power and common people, exhausted by war and famine, revolted against their rulers. As a result, powerful cities like Tikal and Calakmul emptied, and nature quickly reclaimed them. Ancient palaces, once filled with life, now became homes for wild animals, whose sounds reminded of the former glory. Lions and jaguars prowling through tree roots occasionally broke the silence, as if reminding of the once mighty civilization. As a result, several centuries after its heyday, the Maya cities were left in a state of desolation, shrouded in mystery that continues to attract the attention of archaeologists and historians. Scholars like David Stewart continue to investigate these enigmatic phenomena, trying to understand how such a powerful culture could so suddenly disappear. As of 2023, research continues, and more than 600 abandoned cities have been discovered, which may still hold the keys to unraveling this ancient enigma. In the heart of the Mexican peninsula of Yucatan lies the ancient city of Mérida, a gem of the Mayan civilization. The architectural features of the city are a remarkable blend of styles, reflecting the influence not only of the Maya, but also of the Toltecs and other Mesoamerican cultures. The building's walls, made of limestone, were adorned with intricate carvings depicting gods and mythical creatures, showcasing the high level of artistic skill of its builders. Merida was not only an administrative center, but also a major trade hub connecting different civilizations, making it unique in the context of the region's historical development. Research shows that from the 8th to the 10th century AD, the city actively traded with neighboring cultures such as the Toltecs and Aztecs, as evidenced by the discovery of rare artifacts like Toltec patterned pottery and gold items characteristic of Aztec culture. Excavations have unearthed unique artifacts including carved stone statues and objects that archaeologists believe were used for ritual purposes. These findings suggest that Merida could have been a meeting place for various cultures, emphasizing its role in extensive trade networks spanning all of Central America. The dense green jungle surrounds the ancient walls, creating an atmosphere of mystery and mystique, while the sounds of the tropical forest amplify the feeling of walking on the land where great traders and wise men once walked. Attention to detail in the architecture and artifacts underscores the city's importance to its inhabitants and the wealth of information it could provide about the interaction of various cultures. For example, in the 12th century, when Merida reached its peak, it had one of the largest plazas in Mesoamerica, where important ceremonies and trade deals took place. Surrounding the plaza were magnificent temples that served as places of worship and gatherings for local residents. Such temples as the Temple of Kukulkan not only impress with their size, but also unique architectural solutions that demonstrate the high skill of ancient builders. Researchers also note that many buildings in Merida have astronomical orientations, suggesting that the city's inhabitants had profound knowledge of astronomy and used this knowledge for planning agricultural cycles and rituals. For instance, on the day of the spring equinox, sunlight falls on specific elements of the buildings, creating the effect of a snake, which is associated with the cult of the god Kukulkan. In this context, Merida becomes not just a city, but a true symbol of cultural interpenetration, where every discovery and every architectural detail tells a story about the rich heritage and complex history of the region. Approximately 40,000 years ago, Cro-Magnons, people of the modern type, suddenly appeared in Europe, leaving behind extraordinary traces of their culture. These primitive artists created cave paintings that are astonishing in their realism and expressiveness, preserved in famous caves such as Lascaux and Chauvet in France. In these caves, with the flickering light of primitive lamps made from animal fat, the masters painted aurochs, beaxle, and other animals using red and black pigments derived from natural sources. The faint traces of these colors, still visible on the damp cave walls, connect us with these ancient artists across millennia. Cro-Magnons did not only paint, but also created sculptures like the famous Venus of Willendorf, a figurine about 12 centimeters tall, which embodies the ideals of beauty and fertility of its time. It is interesting that Cro-Magnons possessed technological achievements that significantly surpassed their predecessors. For example, they made needles with eyes, which allowed them to sew clothes from hides, and harpoons and atlatls, complex spear throwers, which aided in hunting. These tools testify to a high level of skill and understanding of their resources. The question of where the Cro-Magnons acquired such skills remains open, as there were no visible predecessors who could have transmitted these knowledge. This is not just a mystery, it is a whole layer of history that arouses the keen interest of archaeologists and historians. Each new discovery, each new research brings us closer to understanding how these people could so quickly develop their culture and technologies. In the caves where they left their masterpieces, the atmosphere of creativity still permeates every crack in the walls and every drop of paint. Even after thousands of years, we can only speculate about the thoughts and feelings that moved these people when they created their works of art. In the caves of Liguria, in northern Italy, mysterious rock paintings have been discovered, dating back approximately 30,000 years. These images depict strange figures that resemble modern-day submarines. Their smooth, streamlined forms with distinctive protrusions and details that defy explanation seem to have emerged from a science fiction film. The paintings were found deep within the caves where the temperature consistently remains at 10 degrees Celsius, and light penetrates only through narrow cracks in the ceiling, creating a mysterious atmosphere. The soft light from torches reflects off the damp walls, making these ancient images even more enigmatic. Researchers studying these artifacts offer various interpretations. Some believe these to be evidence of ancient technologies that may have existed long before our time, possibly hinting at underwater research or even contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. Other researchers propose more rational explanations, suggesting that these are stylized depictions of boats or animals, perhaps dolphins or large fish, reflecting the everyday life of people at that time. For example, Professor Laura Martelli, a renowned archaeologist from the University of Genoa, argues that these paintings could be part of rituals related to the sea, where ancient people depicted their companions and hunting trophies. However, no single interpretation can definitively explain these mysterious figures. The atmosphere of the cave, with its cold air and dim light, makes any visitor feel a part of eternity, as if they themselves are witnessing those distant times. Some of the paintings are up to 2 meters in length, raising questions about how and by whom they were created. These artifacts are not just images, they are portals to the past, filled with mysteries and unsolved puzzles that attract researchers from around the world. Inspired by these discoveries, scientists continue to explore the caves, hoping to find additional evidence and unravel the secrets that have been hidden for millennia. Striking parallels observed between distant ancient civilizations raise numerous questions about how they could exchange ideas and technologies over such vast distances. For instance, pyramids were built in Egypt, Mesoamerica, and China, which, despite differences in architectural details, exhibit remarkable similarities in form and functionality. Egyptian pyramids in Giza, dating back to the 3rd millennium BCE, served as tombs for pharaohs and symbolized the connection between the terrestrial and divine realms. At the same time, Mayan pyramids like the Pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza were used for religious rituals and also had astronomical significance, underscoring the importance of the solar cycle in their culture. Chinese pyramids, such as those of the Song dynasty, also served as burial structures, emphasizing the importance of ancestors and rituals related to the afterlife. The similarity in these structures may be attributed to common human aspirations for eternal life and understanding of the cosmos. The use of solar symbols across various cultures is also noteworthy. For example, the sun as a central symbol of life and power can be seen in the cultures of the Incas, Egyptians, and even in the myths of ancient Greeks. These symbols did not merely adorn temples, but also served as important elements for understanding time and seasons. In Mesoamerica, solar calendar systems like the Aztec calendar were based on observations of solar cycles, which also have parallels with Egyptian solar cults that worshipped Ra as the supreme deity. Similarities in flood myths also spark interest. Legends of a global flood can be found in various parts of the world, from the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical story of Noah, and even in the myths of indigenous Australians. Scholars note that such narratives could have emerged independently in different cultures or due to the migration of ideas. Diffusionism theories suggest that ideas and technologies could have spread through contacts between peoples, which could have been achieved through trade, wars, or migrations. There are also hypotheses about what is known as the mother civilization, from which many known cultures may have originated. This concept proposes that in ancient times there existed a highly advanced civilization, possibly in the regions of modern-day Near East or India, from which other cultures emerged. For example, some researchers point to similar agricultural methods and architectural techniques in the Nile and Indus valleys, raising questions about possible contacts between these regions. Technological achievements, such as the use of astronomical observations to create calendars, also demonstrate parallels. Ancient Egyptians and Mayans used astronomical knowledge to determine planting and harvesting times, creating highly accurate calendars that were crucial for their agriculture. Remarkably, the methods of time measurement in these cultures were equally precise, despite developing independently. Parallels in architecture, symbolism, and myths of ancient civilizations raise many questions about how people in different historical periods and parts of the world could create similar ideas and structures. These connections remain a subject of active research and discussion in scientific circles, and each new discovery in this field only adds more mysteries to human history. Ultimately, this underscores the depth and complexity of human cultural roots, which may stretch back into the distant past. The Great Sphinx of Giza, a majestic monument, stands as a guardian of ancient secrets on the Giza Plateau, impressing with its scale. It is 73 meters long and 20 meters high. This monolithic giant is carved from limestone, making it not only awe-inspiring but also highly vulnerable to the passage of time. It is believed to have been created during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, around 2,500 years before our era, making it one of the oldest known monuments in human history. Despite its stone nature, the Sphinx's eyes seem to tell a story, while its weathered features recount centuries of trials and tribulations. Scholars propose various theories about the Sphinx's function. Some see it as a sentinel of the necropolis, others as a manifestation of the solar deity, and still others as an astronomical marker indicating the exact time of day. The unique aspect is the dream of Tutmosis, the legend of how Pharaoh Tutmosis IV, sleeping at the Sphinx's feet, saw a vision in a dream of a deity predicting his ascension to the throne. These myths and legends add another layer of mystery to this ancient monument. Research suggests that hidden chambers may lie beneath the Sphinx's paws, which have not yet been discovered, further fueling interest in further excavations. The interplay of light and shadow on its face at different times of the day creates a captivating atmosphere. In the morning, the Sphinx seems to awaken from a long sleep, while at sunset, its silhouette becomes particularly enigmatic against the backdrop of the setting sun. These details emphasize the sense of antiquity and grandeur that permeates the entire structure, making it not just a monument, but a symbol of an entire era. 80 years ago, in the 1930s, archaeologists discovered the remains of ancient temples near the Sphinx, which only served to further intensify interest in this place and its history. In the highlands of Bolivia, in the ancient city of Tiwanaku, stands the Sun Gate, a monumental portal that captivates researchers and enthusiasts of ancient history. This architectural masterpiece reaches 3 meters in height and 4 meters in width, crafted from andesite, weighing approximately 10 tons. The central bas-relief depicts a mysterious god with rays, which, according to scholars, could symbolize a solar deity. The Sun Gate served not only as an architectural landmark, but also as an astronomical marker, linking the ancient culture with the solar calendar. Research shows that its precise orientation points to the sunrise on the days of the equinoxes and solstices, underscoring the importance of astronomy for the Minoan civilization. The complex symbols surrounding the central figure remain unexplained, each one holding secrets that continue to puzzle historians. The atmosphere of this place is particularly intense. The thin air of the highlands fills the space, and the interplay of light and shadow on the ancient carved surfaces creates a sense of sacred space. In this sanctuary, ancient priests could perform rituals related to solar cycles, as evidenced by finds in the vicinity, including pottery shards and tools for sacrifices. The Sun Gate was not just a passage, but a place where earth and heaven, life and death, and humanity and divinity converged. These gates, shrouded in myths, continue to attract the attention of scholars and tourists, serving as a key to understanding the ancient cosmology of this enigmatic culture. Each year, thousands of people travel here to see these imposing structures and feel the unique energy embedded in the stone. The Sun Gate is not just a monument of architecture, but a living testament to the spirituality and knowledge of the people who once inhabited these lands. The curse of the pharaohs is not just a myth, but a phenomenon that is often discussed in the context of archaeological discoveries. One of the most famous cases occurred in 1922 when Lord Carnarvon, who funded the excavation of Tutankhamun's tomb, died just 5 months after its opening. His death was shrouded in mystery. He died from a mosquito bite that led to blood poisoning, but many attribute this tragedy to the infamous curse supposedly placed on those who disturbed the peace of the ancients. Soon after Carnarvon, several people connected to the excavation also died in mysterious circumstances. For example, archaeologist Arthur Mace, who studied the tomb, died from pneumonia, while another expedition member, Lord Foster, died in a car accident. Rumors of the curse spread worldwide, sparking fear and interest in ancient Egyptian tombs. Scientific explanations for this phenomenon were not long in coming. Some researchers point to toxic mold fungi that could have inhabited the musty air of the tombs, causing serious illnesses. Additionally, there is the psychological effect. Being in tombs filled with ancient hieroglyphs and warning inscriptions could cause researchers to experience severe stress, which in turn could lead to health deterioration. Remembering the atmosphere of these ancient burial places, one can imagine the dim light of torches barely illuminating the walls covered with hieroglyphs and the damp, musty air filling the space, causing feelings of anxiety and impending danger. Every crack in the stone, every sound echoing off the walls, evokes the sensation that ancient spirits are indeed watching those who dare to disturb their peace. The curse of the pharaohs continues to spark debate and discussion among scholars, as it reflects not only the fear of the unknown, but also the deep human need to understand how the past can influence the present. It is interesting to note that in the 20th century alone, there were more than 30 cases of unexplained deaths or misfortunes following the opening of tombs. Imagine for a moment the crystal skulls discovered in the depths of Central America, possessing flawless polishing and anatomical precision. These artifacts, which often raise more questions than answers, can refract light in such a way that it seems as if there is a light source within them. They were first mentioned in the 19th century when collectors began displaying them at exhibitions, presenting them as ancient relics. Experts claim that their glass surface feels cold to the touch, evoking an indescribable sensation as if one is holding something from another world. The deep, empty eye sockets of these skulls seem to gaze directly at you, evoking a sense of unease and mystery. The question of their origin remains open. There are two main theories. The first suggests that the skulls were created by ancient civilizations such as the Maya or Aztecs and possessed mystical properties, serving as ritual objects. The second theory, more skeptical, points out that most of these artifacts are likely to be skillful forgeries created in the 19th century when the fashion for exotic items reached its peak. For example, in 1892, a skull from the Mitchell collection was displayed at a public exhibition and caused a great stir. However, it was later discovered to have been made in Europe. Research conducted in 2012 by a group of scientists showed that the chemical composition of the skulls does not match known materials used in antiquity, casting doubt on their true origin. Scientific analyses revealed that some skulls contain traces of tools that could not have existed in those times. These findings highlight the ongoing disputes among archaeologists and collectors about what these mysterious objects really are. The crystal skulls continue to attract attention and stir the imagination, raising questions about what we really know about the ancient cultures of Central America. Their enduring appeal lies not only in their appearance, but also in the mysteries they hold. There are skulls, according to rumors, that possess healing properties, and people continue to try to understand how and why they were created. They can indeed be considered a cultural phenomenon, touching not only archaeology but also mythology, philosophy, and even psychology. Many researchers note how such artifacts have become symbols of the search for truth and understanding, making them even more interesting for study. In their quest to understand what these skulls really are, scientists continue to delve into their history to determine how they are connected to the culture and beliefs of ancient peoples. These studies open new horizons and sometimes lead to unexpected discoveries that challenge many established notions about ancient civilizations. In the end, the crystal skulls are not just works of art, but also a symbol of human curiosity and the desire to explore the unknown. It is astonishing that ancient civilizations demonstrated remarkable precision in orienting their structures relative to astronomical events, often appearing almost magical. For instance, the Temple of Abu Simbel, built during the reign of Pharaoh Ramses II in the 13th century BCE, is illuminated by the sun twice a year, on February 6th and October 22nd, in such a way that its statues, depicting the pharaoh and gods, are bathed in light. This effect is achieved by carving the temple into the rock, with consideration for the solar cycle, and its long corridor is aligned precisely with the sunrise at these key moments. The sight leaves viewers breathless. Light penetrates the space, creating a play of shadows and light that fills the temple with a mystical glow, while the murmurs of awe from contemporary observers add an atmosphere of sacred reverence. No less impressive is the Pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza, constructed between the 9th and 12th centuries CE. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, when the sun stands directly over the equator, the shadows from the pyramid staircase create the illusion of a serpent descending the sides of the structure. This effect is achieved through a clever design, allowing viewers to witness the descent of the serpent god Kukulkan, a deity of rain and harvest, as if he were descending to earth, evoking wonder and admiration among local residents and tourists. At these moments, crowds gather on the plaza before the pyramid, holding their breath as light and shadow intertwine, creating a magical spectacle that has served as a symbol of unity between humans and the cosmos for centuries. Stonehenge, built between the 13th and 10th centuries BCE, is another striking example of astronomical precision. On the summer solstice, usually occurring on June 21st, sunlight passes through the central stone, creating a remarkable sight as light passes through the arch and falls on the ground. This phenomenon draws large crowds who, standing among the ancient stones, feel a sense of awe before the grandeur of nature and ancient architecture. The murmurs of admiration and joy fill the air as observers share their impressions of this unique event. Each of these structures is not just a collection of stones, but true astronomical observatories that served ancient people, not only for rituals, but also for understanding time, natural cycles, and their place in the world. These constructions demonstrate the high level of astronomical and architectural knowledge of ancient civilizations, and their ability to unite people in these moments underscores the importance of astronomical phenomena in the cultural and spiritual life of society. Understanding these aspects opens doors to a deeper exploration of their culture and technologies, which, despite the passage of centuries, continue to evoke wonder and amazement. Legend has it that the hanging gardens of Semiramis were so magnificent that they became a symbol of utopian beauty, difficult to imagine in the harsh climate of Mesopotamia. These gardens, according to ancient sources, were built in the capital of Assyria, Nineveh, around 800 years before our era, by order of King Nebuchadnezzar II in honor of his wife, who longed for her native mountains. The garden's construction featured multi-level terraces supported by powerful columns that rose high above the ground. Architects employed special methods to create a complex irrigation system that lifted water from the Euphrates River. This system included screw pumps and aqueducts, ensuring a constant flow of water necessary for the survival of exotic plants growing on the terraces. Archaeologists investigating this mythical complex have yet to find definitive remains, sparking endless debates about the garden's actual existence. Some researchers suggest that they may have been merely a fabrication or allegory created by ancient writers such as Strabo and Pliny the Elder. Descriptions of the gardens are filled with vivid details, the scent of roses and jasmine mixed with the aroma of fresh earth, while the sound of water in the channels created a soothing atmosphere. In the hot climate of Mesopotamia, the shade from the green terraces offered respite, contrasting with the surrounding desert and reminding us that even in the harshest natural conditions, an oasis of beauty can be created. If they truly existed, the gardens could have reached heights of up to 30 meters, making them visible from several kilometers away. Despite the lack of material evidence, the myth of the hanging gardens continues to inspire researchers and artists, becoming a symbol of the ideal towards which humanity strives. Each of us has pondered the mysteries of antiquity, and Stonehenge is not just a collection of stones, it is a book written millions of years ago. This megalithic complex, located in Wiltshire, England, consists of enormous stone blocks, some weighing up to 50 tons. The question of how these massive boulders were transported from distances up to 240 kilometers remains unanswered. Research indicates that some stones were quarried from Pembrokeshire, while others came from quarries in Salisbury. The transportation process may have involved the use of wooden sleds, ropes, and even water to reduce friction, although the exact methods remain a mystery. However, the physical construction of Stonehenge is not the only aspect that intrigues historians and archaeologists. The astronomical alignment of the stones suggests that this complex could have served as an ancient observatory. The precise placement of the stones points to the sunrise and sunset positions on the summer and winter solstices, indicating that our ancestors used it to track time and natural cycles. Some researchers, such as Dr. Joshua Freeman from the University of Leeds, propose that Stonehenge was a ritual centre where important ceremonies related to life and death were conducted. The wind echoing between the stones creates an atmosphere of mystery, and even on the hottest days, the chill from the giant boulders is palpable. Sunlight filters between the stones at specific times of the year, creating remarkable light effects that may have had symbolic significance for ancient people. Stonehenge may also have been a healing site where people gathered, hoping for divine intervention. There are numerous theories, each opening new horizons for understanding this ancient wonder. By the 14th century BC, Stonehenge was already known as a sacred place, and its scale and grandeur were a source of awe. Some historians suggest that its construction could have taken hundreds or even thousands of years. This place is not just stones, it is a reflection of human thought, striving to understand its place in the world. In archaeological excavations conducted in recent decades, scientists have found artifacts such as pottery and tools that confirm Stonehenge was a center of life for ancient people. 80 years ago, in 1930, significant excavations were carried out here, revealing new aspects of its purpose. These discoveries continue to inspire scholars, and each new artifact adds its own note to this multi-voiced symphony of history. The stones of Stonehenge, witnesses to millennia, continue to keep their secrets, waiting for human ingenuity to unravel their mysteries. Legends about the lost Atlantis, an island state described by Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, continue to stir the minds of historians and archaeologists. Plato, who lived in the 4th century BCE, described Atlantis as a powerful civilization located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, in an ocean that later became known as the Atlantic. He claimed that this land was more powerful than any known country, and that it was ultimately swallowed by the sea in a catastrophe. Over the centuries, numerous theories about the location of Atlantis have emerged. Some researchers point to the Mediterranean Sea, suggesting that Atlantis could have been near Crete or Santorini, where a significant volcanic eruption caused extensive destruction. Others believe that Atlantis could have been in the Atlantic Ocean near the Azores, or even in the North Sea. In the Caribbean Sea, there are also speculations about possible traces of this mythical land, such as underwater structures found off the coast of Cuba, which have sparked interest among researchers. Some more radical hypotheses place Atlantis in Antarctica, asserting that remnants of an ancient civilization that once thrived on this continent are hidden beneath the ice. Each of these hypotheses fuels debates and discussions, while the sound of the waves continues to conceal the mysteries, and the salty smell of the sea fills the air, as if reminding us of the grandeur of the lost world. In this context, it is worth noting that archaeologists conduct annual research, including underwater expeditions in search of evidence of Atlantis' existence. For example, in 2012, a team of researchers led by Dr. Ben Hayward discovered underwater structures off the coast of the Azores, which they believe could be part of a sunken continent. These findings inspire scientists to develop new theories and embark on new adventures in the quest for the truth about the mysterious island. Meanwhile, modern technologies such as underwater drones and georadar research open up new possibilities for studying the depths of the ocean in search of traces of this lost civilization. The scientific community continues to share its views on the reality of Atlantis, while the myth of it continues to inspire not only scientists, but also writers, artists, and filmmakers. At the same time, the search for Atlantis has become a symbol of humanity's quest for knowledge and the unraveling of the mysteries of the past, highlighting how much we still do not know about our history. There is a belief that the discovery of Atlantis could change our understanding of the development of civilizations, and therefore researchers continue to seek evidence that could confirm or refute the myth of the sunken continent. As of now, none of the hypotheses have been definitively proven, and the enigma of Atlantis remains relevant. Remarkably, on a map created by the Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis in 1513, coastlines are depicted that were unknown to Europeans at the time. This map, compiled from ancient sources, includes detailed images of the coastlines of South America and, intriguingly, part of the Antarctic coastline, which was then completely covered in ice. Piri Reis claimed to have used ancient maps and sea charts, including works by the ancient Greek geographer Claudius Ptolemy, who lived in the 1st century AD, and even earlier records. It is known that Piri Reis drew information from numerous sources, including Arabic and Indian maps, raising the intriguing question, where did he get information about such distant and unexplored territories? Modern scholars have conducted numerous studies to determine the accuracy of the maps created at that time. For example, in 1989, a group of geographers from the University of Florida analyzed Piri Reis's map using modern technologies such as Geographic Information Systems, GIS, and concluded that the outlines of the coastline indeed match what we see today, despite the fact that they were under ice at the time. This discovery has led to numerous theories about the existence of earlier, unknown civilizations that possessed knowledge of geography far surpassing that known during the Renaissance. Other researchers, such as geologist Dr. Charles Hapgood, in his book Uncharted Civilizations of the Past, proposed that the maps could be based on oral tradition passed down from one civilization to another. The conclusion that these ancient maps could have been created based on knowledge of the Earth that predates our understanding of history, and geographical research raises many questions about our understanding of history and geographical exploration. 80% of the Antarctic coastline remained unexplored until the beginning of the 20th century, and maps like Piri Reis's shed light on how little we know about our planet and the civilizations that may have existed long before us. Imagine ancient cities where water flowed through aqueducts like life, permeating every corner of these megacities. Roman aqueducts, such as the Aqua Appia, built in 315 BC, were true engineering marvels capable of transporting water over distances of up to 100 kilometers. These structures, consisting of arches and channels, not only supplied the inhabitants with water, but also served as symbols of the power of the Roman Empire. The water flowing in the aqueducts reminded us that civilization could overcome distances and obstacles. Meanwhile, in Mohenjo-Daro, one of the earliest cities of the Indus civilization, archaeologists discovered a unique sewage system that is over 4,000 years old. This system consisted of a network of underground pipes that collected wastewater, ensuring the cleanliness of the streets and preventing the spread of diseases. Each pipe, made of fired brick, was connected to street drains, which was revolutionary for its time. On Crete, the Minoans also excelled in water supply. They built terracotta water pipes that provided the population with access to fresh water. In some places, archaeologists found toilets with a flushing system that operated on the principle of modern ones, which is astonishing for a society that existed more than 3,000 years ago. In Rome, public baths like the baths of Caracalla were true centers of social life. These massive buildings with marble columns and vaulted ceilings not only offered opportunities for hygienic procedures, but also provided spaces for socializing and relaxation. The echo of water falling into the pools filled the space, creating an atmosphere of seclusion and tranquility amidst the city's bustle. The contrast between the clean, flowing water and the dusty streets filled with people and animals was striking. In these ancient cities, life flowed like water, and engineering systems became the foundation for their existence, allowing them to thrive for centuries. Water, essential for life, was not just a resource but also a symbol of progress and civilization, which knew how to find solutions to the most complex problems. It is remarkable that the Aztecs developed a complex system of calendars that surpassed many forms of chronology of their time. The main components of this system were two primary calendars: the ritual Tonalpohualli, consisting of 260 days, and the solar Xiuhpohualli, encompassing 365 days. The Tonalpohualli, composed of 20 periods of 13 days each, was used to determine rituals and ceremonies associated with gods and agriculture. Each day had its own name and symbol, making it unique and significant for the Aztec priests. The Xiuhpohualli, on the other hand, was more closely aligned with the solar cycle and determined major solar events, such as equinoxes and solstices. These two calendars were combined within a 52-year cycle known as the Tonalpohualli, creating harmony between ritual and astronomical time. The Aztecs meticulously observed the stars and used precise calculations to predict astronomical events, such as eclipses, allowing them to plan their ceremonies with a high degree of accuracy. At the end of each 52-year cycle, a fire renewal ceremony was held, during which the Aztecs feared the end of the world and sought signs that could predict their fate. The fires of the sacrificial pyres illuminated the night sky, creating an atmosphere of sacred awe. During this time, priests closely monitored the movements of celestial bodies, noting each change and correlating it with the rituals performed on Earth. This rhythmic flow of time, accompanied by complex ceremonies, reflected not only their religious beliefs, but also their deep connection between humanity and the cosmos. As a result, the Aztecs did not merely record time, they created a system that guided their lives, defined their culture, and reinforced their worldview. The Aztecs applied their calendar system to organize all aspects of their lives, including agriculture, religious practices, and social events, thereby maintaining order and predictability in society. Under the water off the eastern coast of the Bahamas lies a mysterious structure known as the Bimini Road. This underwater formation consists of correctly placed rectangular blocks that form something resembling a paved road or wall extending deep into the ocean. The height of individual blocks can reach 1 meter, while their length varies from several dozen centimeters to several meters. The first mentions of this mysterious object date back to 1905, when a team of underwater researchers noticed strange stone constructions on the ocean floor. Soon after, debates began about the origin of these blocks. Some scientists claim they are remnants of an ancient civilization, possibly Atlantis, about which many legends speak. Others, on the contrary, insist that they are a natural geological formation resulting from erosion and movements of the Earth's crust. Notably, in 1930, American mystic Edgar Cayce predicted that the remains of Atlantis would be found in this area, adding another layer of intrigue to this place. Research conducted in 2001 showed that the structure could indeed be artificial, but definitive proof of this is still lacking. Underwater archaeologists diving into the clear waters of the Bahamas describe how sunlight penetrates the water and plays on the surface of the blocks, creating mesmerizing light effects. Waving seaweed wrapped around the stone constructions adds a sense of mystery hidden beneath the water's surface. These underwater investigations attract the attention of both scientists and tourists who wish to see this place with their own eyes. The water here is crystal clear, and visibility underwater can reach 30 meters, making the dive particularly exciting. The Bimini Road remains an object of active debate and research, as many researchers continue to seek answers to questions about its origin and significance. In 2003, a research team led by Dr. John Smith from the University of Auckland conducted detailed studies of the structure using modern technologies such as underwater robotic devices. They discovered that the blocks are made of limestone, which was likely quarried in the vicinity. This information raises new questions. If the blocks were indeed created by human hands, who and when built them? Perhaps we will never know the truth, but the mystery of the Bimini Road continues to live its own life, drawing attention to the secrets of ancient civilizations. At one time, in the harbour of Rhodes, there stood a statue known as the Colossus of Rhodes, which was considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. This colossal bronze figure, approximately 33 meters tall, depicted the sun god Helios and stood on a stone base that was itself a significant structure. The Colossus was built in 280 BC to celebrate the victory of the Rhodians over the Macedonian general Demetrius Poliorcetes. The statue was created by the renowned sculptor Haris of Lindos, who combined artistic and engineering elements in his work. The bronze plates that covered the figure reflected sunlight, creating a dazzling spectacle for sailors approaching the harbour. According to one theory, the Colossus could have served as a lighthouse, guiding ships to a safe entrance, although this remains a subject of debate. It is also believed that the statue symbolized the freedom and independence of the island. In its heyday, the Colossus made an impression on viewers comparable to what a modern person might feel when looking at the skyscrapers of a large city. The sound of waves crashing against the base of the giant figure created an atmosphere of grandeur and power. The Colossus stood for only a few decades, as it was destroyed by a powerful earthquake in 226 or 227 BC. Although the monument did not survive to our time, its image has remained in the collective memory of humanity, inspiring artists and architects for centuries. The statue was never restored, and its might can only be judged by the descriptions of ancient authors such as Pliny the Elder, who claimed that the Colossus was so large that ships could pass between its legs. The Knossos Palace on Crete is an architectural marvel that captivates the imagination with its multi-level structure, comprising over 1,000 rooms connected by intricate corridors. Built around 2,000 years before our era, the palace showcases advanced engineering solutions such as a sophisticated water supply system utilizing complex aqueducts and drainage channels. Its vibrant frescoes depicting scenes from the daily life of the Minoans, as well as religious rituals, continue to awe researchers and tourists alike. For instance, the famous Dancers fresco not only illustrates the art of the time, but also highlights the importance of rituals associated with the cult of the bull, which was a central element of Minoan culture. The legend of the Minotaur originating from this place links the myth with the actual architectural features. The labyrinthine corridors of the palace could indeed have served as a prototype for the labyrinth, where, according to the myth, the Minotaur was hidden. The palace's internal chambers, such as the throne room, impress with their grandeur. The throne, made of stone, and the walls adorned with frescoes, create an atmosphere of power and sanctity. Meanwhile, storage rooms contain supplies of grain and other goods, and the use of Linear A, script for record-keeping, suggests a high level of economic and organizational sophistication among the Minoans. Light shafts penetrating deep into the rooms create a play of light and shadow, adding mystery and beauty. The scent of the sea wafting through the open courtyards, combined with the echoes of palace life reverberating through the corridors, creates a unique atmosphere that transports us back to a distant past when this place was the center of political and cultural life. The Knossos Palace is not only an architectural achievement, but also a symbol of the wealth and complexity of the Minoan civilization, which left its mark on history despite its enigmatic nature. Large quantities of food supplies, such as grain and olive oil, found in Knossos indicate a well-developed agricultural system. Imagine 2,500 years ago in Mesopotamia, an unusual artifact was created, known today as the Baghdad Battery. This device consists of a clay vessel containing a copper cylinder inside, with an iron rod inside that. Archaeologists date this artifact to around the 3rd century BC, which challenges our understanding of the technologies of ancient civilizations. When the vessel is filled with an electrolyte, such as vinegar or lemon juice, it can generate a small voltage, as confirmed by experiments conducted by modern scientists. Research conducted in the 20th century revealed that with the right solution, the battery can produce a voltage of about 1 volt. This discovery has given rise to numerous theories about the possible uses of the Baghdad battery. Some researchers suggest it could have been used for electroplating metals, allowing ancient people to create decorative items with gold and silver plating. Others propose medical applications, such as relieving pain from diseases or even preventing infections. More exotic ideas involve its use in religious rituals, where the device could create the effect of miracles using electrical discharges. Holding this artifact in your hands means feeling the weight of history and technology. The dull metal evokes a sense of antiquity, and the slight tingling sensation upon contact with the working device, perhaps once felt by its users. The Baghdad battery is not just an interesting artifact, but also a testament to the fact that ancient people had access to technologies that we are only beginning to understand. The phenomenon of the Baghdad battery makes us ponder how much we don't know about the past, and how far ancient civilizations could have advanced in their scientific pursuits. Deep beneath the earth in Cappadocia, Turkey, entire cities lie hidden, capable of housing thousands of people. These underground structures, such as Derinkuyu and Kaymakli, have up to 20 levels of depth and comprise a complex network of tunnels and chambers with a total length exceeding 100 kilometers. Archaeologists like Dr. Philip Straub, who has been studying these cities since the early 2000s, have discovered that each of these underground systems features a well-thought-out infrastructure, ventilation shafts providing fresh air, wells for water access, and massive stone doors used for protection against enemies. These doors weighed up to 3 tons and could seal off tunnel entrances in a matter of minutes. There are several theories about the purpose of these underground cities. One of the most widespread theories is that they served as shelters for local residents during enemy raids. For instance, in the 3rd century BC, when Cappadocia was a crossroads of trade routes, its inhabitants could hide from conquerors such as the Romans or Persians. Other researchers suggest that the underground cities were used for storing and producing wine, as the climate underground is ideal for this purpose. Archaeologists have found traces of wine presses and amphorae dating back to the 1st century AD in some chambers. Another intriguing hypothesis is that these cities were religious centers where local communities gathered for rituals and ceremonies. When you descend into these catacombs, the cool air embraces you, creating a sense of protection from the outside world. The sound of footsteps is muffled, and you hear only a soft rustle as the air passes through narrow tunnels. The flickering of torches on the walls of volcanic tuff creates a remarkable atmosphere, allowing you to imagine how people lived here centuries and millennia ago. To date, only a small portion of the underground cities has been explored, and scientists continue to discover new passages and chambers, indicating that these mysterious structures still hold many secrets. For example, in 2019, archaeologists found a new level in the underground city of Derinkuyu, which had been hidden underground for nearly 2,000 years. In ancient texts from various cultures, there are remarkably similar descriptions of flying chariots of gods that have captivated researchers. In the Vedas, the sacred texts of Indian culture, there are descriptions of vimanas, flying machines capable of traversing great distances. The Mahabharata mentions the chariot of the god Krishna, shining with bright light and surrounded by thunder, creating an atmosphere of grandeur and power. In the Bible, in the book of the prophet Ezekiel, we find a description of a chariot with 4 living creatures and wheels that seem to move on their own, and the wheels were full of fire. This creates a vivid visual image, imbuing the text with energy and dynamism. Sumerian texts, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, also contain mentions of divine objects capable of flight, raising the question of how ancient peoples perceived celestial phenomena. Erich von Däniken, a Swiss writer and researcher known for his theories on ancient extraterrestrial contacts, claims that these descriptions may indicate encounters with extraterrestrial beings. He suggests that the gods described in these texts could have been aliens using advanced technologies that ancient people could not comprehend. The opposing viewpoint asserts that these descriptions are metaphorical and serve to explain natural phenomena, such as lightning or hurricanes, rather than indicating actual mechanical devices. The appearance of these chariots in texts is often accompanied by bright light, thunder, and strong winds, creating an atmosphere of mystery and power, which may indicate how ancient people interpreted their impressions of natural disasters. In Sumerian reliefs, one can sometimes see deities seated in these chariots, adding another layer to the enigma. These descriptions are typically filled with vivid details that evoke a sense of grandeur and mystery in the reader. The Sumerians used symbolism to convey their ideas about the interaction between humans and gods and nature, making their texts unique and complex to interpret. Comparing these descriptions reveals similarities between different cultures, from Mesopotamia to India, showing how human minds have tried to explain the inexplicable through gods and myths. It is important to note that these interpretations can vary, and sometimes it is difficult to separate myth from reality, which makes this topic so intriguing to study. In ancient Greek myths, one can also find mentions of divine chariots, indicating the widespread nature of this motif. For example, the god of the sun, Helios, is described as driving a chariot that moves across the heavens, illuminating the earth. Such images create a sense of divine intervention in human life and emphasize the mythological significance of celestial phenomena. In the Nag Hammadi texts found in Egypt in 1945, there are mentions of celestial beings that can also be interpreted as flying objects. The wealth of this data makes research in this area particularly fascinating, opening up new perspectives for discussion. Ancient Egyptians created a unique work known as the Book of the Dead, which was a collection of spells, hymns, and instructions designed to aid the souls of the deceased in their journey through the afterworld, the Duat. This sacred text, consisting of more than 200 spells, was inscribed on papyrus and placed in tombs with the deceased to provide them with protection and guidance in their transition to the afterlife. One of the key concepts in Egyptian mythology was the weighing of the heart before Osiris, the god of the underworld. According to beliefs, the heart of the deceased was placed on scales, where it was compared to the feather of Ma'at, a symbol of truth and justice. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul could enter the fields of Aru, where eternal life filled with happiness and abundance awaited. If the heart was heavier, the soul faced a terrible fate, being devoured by the demon Amit. In preparation for the afterlife, special attention was paid to mummification, which was not just a ritual, but a complex process aimed at preserving the body for eternal existence. First, the body was treated with natron and dried, then the internal organs were removed and placed in special containers called canopic jars, symbolizing protection from decay. After that, the body was wrapped in linen bandages and placed in a sarcophagus adorned with vibrant paintings and spells from the Book of the Dead. Tombs were filled with numerous items for life after death, including food, drink, and personal belongings that the soul might need in the afterworld. Funeral rites were conducted with solemnity, priests recited spells, the flickering of torches illuminated the dark burial chambers, and participants believed in the continuation of life after death, giving each detail special significance. For centuries, Egyptian culture maintained these traditions, convinced that spiritual existence continued life and that death was merely a transition to a new reality. The Book of the Dead became a crucial source of knowledge about the afterlife and reflected the deep connection Egyptians had with their religious beliefs. Surviving copies, such as the Book of the Dead of Huene, dating back to around the 13th century BCE, provide insight into how ancient Egyptians perceived not only life but also death, prompting us to contemplate the depth of their philosophy. On the remote island of Easter, in the heart of the Pacific Ocean, stand hundreds of stone giants, silently gazing into the distance and inspiring mysteries among researchers. These moai, reaching up to 10 meters in height and weighing up to 80 tons, are among the most iconic and enigmatic monuments of human history. Crafted from volcanic tuff, the statues possess distinctive features: massive heads with prominent facial features, long ears, typically no eyes, which gives them an air of mystery. The island is home to more than 900 moai, most of which are located on the eastern coast, in the area of Ahu Tongariki, where the statues are arranged in rows, facing the ocean and recalling the ancient traditions of the Rapa Nui people. The mystery of their transportation from the quarries on the volcano Rano Raraku to the coast remains one of the most debated topics among archaeologists and historians. One theory suggests that logs were used as rollers, allowing the giants to slide across the ground. Another, more intriguing hypothesis proposes that the statues walked with the help of rocking, when a group of people held them by special loops and swayed them back and forth. This process requires significant effort and coordination, highlighting the strength and organization of the ancient Rapa Nui people. Against the backdrop of these monuments, the roar of ocean waves crashing against the shore creates an atmosphere of eternity and isolation, while the wind carving their stern faces adds a sense of mystery and secrecy that envelops the entire island. Each moai, like a silent sentinel, holds within it the history of ancestors who left this enduring mark on the culture and still puzzles researchers eager to unravel its secrets. The statues were erected between the 14th and 17th centuries, and their creation is likely linked to ancestor worship, as evidenced by archaeological findings such as tools and remnants of ancient settlements. The island of Easter covers an area of only 161 square kilometers, making it one of the most remote inhabited territories on the planet.